DarkSide is a cybercriminal hacking group that targets victims using ransomware and extortion. Ransomware is a type of malicious software that encrypts the files and data of a computer or network, and demands a ransom for the decryption key. Extortion is the practice of threatening to expose or harm the victim unless they pay a certain amount of money. DarkSide claims to be a modern-day Robin Hood, stealing from rich corporations and giving some of the money to charity. In October 2020, the group announced that it had donated 0.88 Bitcoin, worth $10,000 at the time, to two international charitable organizations, the Water Project and Children International. The Water Project works to improve access to clean water in sub-Saharan Africa, while Children International supports children and families in poverty around the world. The donations were made through the Giving Block, a service that helps nonprofits accept cryptocurrency donations. However, the charities were not happy to receive the money from DarkSide. By law, charities cannot keep donations that come from the proceeds of crime. Children International said it had no intention of keeping the money, while the Water Project did not respond to requests for comment. The donations also raised questions about the motives and methods of DarkSide. Some experts suggested that the group was trying to improve its public image, or test a way to launder its criminal proceeds. Others said that the group was simply seeking attention or mocking its victims. DarkSide is believed to be based in Eastern Europe, likely Russia, and operates as a ransomware-as-a-service platform. This means that it provides ransomware software and infrastructure to other hackers, who then carry out the attacks and share a cut of the profits with DarkSide. The group has been active since August 2020, and has extorted millions of dollars from various companies in different sectors. It claims to avoid targeting healthcare centers, schools, and nonprofit organizations, and to be apolitical. However, it also says that it does not care about the consequences of its actions on society. One of the most notorious attacks by DarkSide was on Colonial Pipeline, a major fuel supplier in the U.S. In May 2021, DarkSide hacked into Colonial Pipeline's network and demanded $4.4 million in ransom. The attack disrupted the supply of gasoline and diesel to millions of Americans on the East Coast, causing panic buying and price spikes. Colonial Pipeline paid the ransom to DarkSide, but later recovered most of it with the help of the U.S. government. DarkSide said that it lost control of its servers and funds after the attack, and that it was shutting down its operations. However, some experts believe that DarkSide may rebrand itself and resume its activities under a different name. DarkSide is one of many ransomware groups that have proliferated and thrived in recent years, posing a serious threat to businesses, governments, and individuals. The rise of cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, has enabled these groups to demand and receive payments anonymously and securely. The lack of international cooperation and regulation has also made it difficult to track and stop them. To protect themselves from ransomware attacks, organizations need to invest in cybersecurity measures, such as backup systems, encryption tools, antivirus software, and employee training. They also need to report any incidents to law enforcement agencies and avoid paying ransoms if possible. Paying ransoms only encourages more attacks and does not guarantee the recovery of data. Ransomware is not only a technical problem, but also a moral one. It challenges our values and principles as a society. How do we balance security and privacy? How do we hold criminals accountable? How do we help victims? And how do we prevent criminals from using our money for their own purposes or for causes we do not support? Possible Script. Ransomware is a type of malicious software that restricts access to computer files, systems, and networks, as cybercriminals demand ransom for their return. According to the FBI, the major consequences of this kind of attack are disruption to operations and the loss of critical information and data. Ransomware attacks have increased in number and severity in recent years, targeting hospitals, governments, businesses, and individuals. But what if the ransomware attackers ask you to donate to a charity instead of paying them directly? This is the case of MalusLocker, a new ransomware variant that targets Zimbra servers, a popular email and collaboration platform. Unlike traditional ransomware groups, MolestLocker claims to dislike corporations and economic inequality, and asks the victims to make a donation to a non-profit that they approve of. They even suggest that the victims can get a tax deduction and good PR from their donation. However, this seemingly altruistic motive does not make MolestLocker any less harmful or unethical. In fact, it raises several ethical and legal implications for both the victims and the charities involved. Here are some of them. First, MolestLocker still violates the basic principle of consent. The victims do not have a choice in whether or not to donate, or which charity to support. They are coerced into giving money under the threat of losing their data or facing legal consequences. This is not a voluntary or genuine act of charity, but a form of extortion. Second, MolestLocker still causes significant harm and disruption to the victims and their customers. The ransomware encrypts their files and prevents them from accessing their email and collaboration services. This can affect their productivity, reputation, security, and privacy. Moreover, the ransom amount is not fixed or transparent, but depends on the size and value of the data encrypted. This can create uncertainty and anxiety for the victims. Third, MolestLocker still poses a risk of data breach and exposure. The ransomware attackers may not delete or decrypt the data after receiving the donation. They may also leak or sell the data to other malicious actors. This can compromise the confidentiality and integrity of the data, and expose the victims to further attacks or lawsuits. Fourth, MolestLocker still supports and encourages criminal activity. The ransomware attackers may use the donations to fund their own operations or other illegal activities. They may also inspire other cybercriminals to adopt this strategy or launch copycat attacks. This can increase the prevalence and sophistication of ransomware attacks in the future. Fifth, MolestLocker still creates ethical dilemmas and legal challenges for the charities involved. The charities may not be aware of or consent to receiving donations from ransomware victims. They may also face scrutiny or criticism from their donors, partners, regulators, or media for accepting tainted money. They may also have to deal with legal issues such as tax compliance, money laundering, or fraud prevention. So how can we prevent future attacks like MolestLocker? Here are some best practices and recommendations. First, we should avoid paying any ransom or donation to ransomware attackers. Paying only encourages them to continue their attacks and does not guarantee data recovery or protection. Instead, we should report the incident to law enforcement authorities and seek professional help from cybersecurity experts. Second, we should implement robust backup and recovery strategies for our data and systems. We should regularly back up our data to secure offline or cloud storage locations. We should also test our backups and recovery plans periodically to ensure they work properly in case of an attack. Third, we should enhance our cybersecurity awareness and education for our employees and customers. We should train them on how to recognize and avoid phishing emails, malicious links, or attachments that may deliver ransomware. We should also update them on the latest threats and trends in ransomware attacks. Fourth, we should apply strong security measures and policies for our devices and networks. We should use antivirus software, firewalls, encryption, authentication, and other tools to protect our data and systems from unauthorized access or modification. We should also keep our software updated with the latest patches and security fixes. Fifth, we should collaborate with other stakeholders in fighting against ransomware attacks. We should share information and intelligence with other organizations in our industry or sector. We should also support law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity researchers in investigating and disrupting ransomware operations. Ransomware attacks like MolestLocker are not only a technical problem but also an ethical one. They challenge our values, principles, and responsibilities as individuals and organizations. By following these best practices and recommendations, we can reduce our vulnerability to ransomware attacks and uphold our integrity and reputation in the face of cyber threats.